Hello, my name is William Forsyth. I'm the course leader for English Language and Linguistics and English Language and Linguistics with English Literature. And that's my email address at the bottom of the screen. So if you have any questions after this presentation, please do email me. I'd be delighted to hear from you. In this presentation, I'd just like to run over these things. I'd like to tell you briefly, who we are and what we do. I'll mention a couple of special features of the course. I'll talk about the range of careers that our graduates do when they finish with us. I'll tell you how we support our students. I'll then run over what you'll study over the 3 years of the course, including the optional placement year, which, if you want to do one, you can do between years 2 and 3. I'll mention the range of assessments that you're likely to do, and I'll show you the course structure and a typical timetable. And then I'll finish by mentioning the Vice-Chancellor's scholarship of £1,000. Before I start, I'd just like to show you some of the questions that we try to answer on the course. For example, we look at, what is good communication in the workplace and how does good communication improve our work and improve organizations? How do we influence people? What is successful communication in our personal lives? How do we learn languages? How does language change from person to person, place to place, and over time? How do we communicate across cultures? What goes wrong with social media? How can language help us solve crimes? How can we help children who have language problems? And of course, all of these depend on that fundamental question: how does language work? Now, to help us answer all of these questions, here are some of our friendly and inspiring staff. Now, we all teach. We all write and research, and here are 4 of the books which our staff have written recently. Now, if you're still trying to decide between studying English language and studying English literature, well, you can do both, because in your second year and third year, you can do literature options like this. Each year consists of 2 terms, and in each term you would study one option of English literature. So you'd end up doing 4 options of English literature across your university course in levels 5 and level 6. That's year 2 and year 3. And if you're interested in doing this, you can freeze the video and read the 3 different options available in each term while I move on. Okay, another very popular feature of the course is that we are a centre for the Trinity London Certificate in TESOL, that is, Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. It is a professional qualification, so we only like to take people who we think are going to pass. So to get onto it, you need to do a short test and an interview. But as I said, it is a professional qualification. So when you've got it, it does qualify you to go and teach English in the UK and overseas. It's not just for people who want to teach. It's also for people who want to know if they want to teach, because it's basically a teaching apprenticeship. We offer it in the second year, that's level 5, and over the year you would spend 6 hours teaching with a teacher, like me, for example, and you teach my class with me together. And so you'll find out, if you don't know, you'll find out if you really want to be the person at the head of a class telling people what to do. Okay, and this is what one of our students, Abby, had to say about it. And if you're interested in this, you can freeze the video and read it. Teaching English is not the only thing that English Language and Linguistics offers. In fact, most of our students want to do something completely different. And here are some of the things that our graduates have gone on to do. This is Lucy. She's now in publishing and marketing. This is Alex. He did, in fact, go into teaching. And they asked him if he could teach maths to some kids. He said, I don't do maths, I do English language. And they said, no, we want someone who's really good at communication. And that's what you're qualified in. So he did. And he actually decided that he quite likes the maths. So he went into accountancy. This is Abby. She is working in public relations and brand management. This is Aidan. He went into the Navy and he trained to be a helicopter pilot. And this is Callum. He went in to do a master's in forensic linguistics. Okay, so how do we support students while you're with us? Well, over on the left, these are the support services offered by the university as a whole, the central university. It includes the hub. These are administrative hubs. You can go and visit them, you can email them, you can phone them, and they will help with all administrative issues. You know, what to do if you're late with your assessments, or what to do about fees, and all of the rest of it. They're very friendly, very helpful. We have student engagement officers around the university who are there to help students engage. There's the all-important Students' Union. They help with all of the problems that students have and students bring to them. And, of course, they offer a huge range of societies and clubs and gyms and sports facilities and all the rest of it to help you plug into the student's social life. And there's also ASDAC, which is there to support anyone with any disability needs. Okay, over on the right, in green, we have the support services that we offer in-house in the School of Languages and Applied Linguistics. First of all, everyone has a personal tutor, and you keep your personal tutor for the whole of your university career. We also have learning development tutors. They're there to plug any gaps or to help with anything you think you want help with in terms of basic academic skills like academic writing, how to do academic referencing, how to find sources, how to give presentations, how to use the library properly, and all of this kind of thing. We also have a dedicated wellbeing tutor called Lee Oakley, and he's excellent and very busy. Okay. I've talked a lot about year 1, year 2, year 3, and level 4, level 5, level 6. So I'm now going to tell you about what you'll study with us. But first of all, what do these mean? Okay, A level is level 3. Year 1 is level 4, year 2 is level 5, year 3 is level 6. And if you go on to do a master's, then that would be level 7 and doctorate up at level 8. Now, it's helpful to talk about levels because you might want to do a placement year between year 2 and year 3. And if you do, then that's what you'll do. So the placement year is now your year 3, and your year 4 is still level 6. Okay, so I'm going to begin by telling you what you'll study at level 4, and then we'll do level 5. I'll talk briefly about the options for your placement year, if you want to do one, and then level 6. Okay. Level 4, everyone does all of the modules. They're all core because they lay the foundations for what you need. They give you what you need in order to do level 5 and level 6. And there are 5 modules. Okay, so the first one is called Investigating Language Practices. There are 2 parts to it, really. The first part is showing you how to study effectively, developing an academic style, writing essays, developing your referencing skills, and that kind of thing. The second part is how we study language, how we investigate language, how we research language. And so you will do a research project in a group, and here are 4 of the topics that people have researched in their first year. Okay, so the second module is Language, Society and Mind. It's an introduction to applied linguistics. Applied linguistics is how our understanding of language can be applied to the world. So, for example, we look at how language changes from person to person, place to place over time, occupation to occupation, regional and social variations, how language changes according to class and region. We look at language and gender. And then there's how we learn our first language and how we learn our second language. And then there's how language is processed and remembered, how we do language up here in the mind. And in fact, that's the topic of my taster lecture, which I hope you'll watch after this. The next module is how language works. Now, this is really the nuts and bolts of language study. We look at what language is made of. So language is basically sound. And so we look at phonetics and phonology. We look at morphology. That's how words are made, whether it's comfortable, uncomfortable, comfortless, and so on, or whether it's begins, beginning, began, and so on. So that's how words change. Lexis and semantics, that's words and meanings. And then syntax, that's basically grammar. After that, there's working with texts. This is all about, what makes a text. How does a text hang together with, for example, this presentation, how I've organized it, how conversations work, how a newspaper article works with its headline, its leader, and all of those, sort of graphic devices to make it work on the page. And then finally, there's language learning and teaching. And you look at language awareness and language analysis. You reflect on what it's like to learn a language. You're not assessed on another language. Don't worry about that. That's fine. It's just, how you reflect on what it's like. And then key aspects of language teaching methodology. And that's the end of level 4. From now on, most of the course is options. And that's important because from what you've gained at level 4, you can then think about where you want to take your course. Do you want to follow your interests, or are you more interested in pursuing career outcomes? Because you can choose modules according to whether you're more interested in language teaching maybe, or teaching of any kind, primary teaching, secondary teaching. Whether you are interested in language for professional purposes, public relations, advertising, marketing, publishing, communication, and in organizations, and human resources, and that kind of thing. Or whether you're more interested in the academic side of language, language change, semantics, the relationship between meaning and words, and that kind of thing. So you can choose options depending on which of those interests you have. In each term, there is one core module, and then you choose 2 options. So here in level 5, term 1, the core module is English forms and functions. That's basically sort of grammar, how language is organized. And then there's forensic linguistics, using language to solve crimes, language in literature, second language acquisition, how people learn second languages, TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. And then you'll also find these in each term. The first one is if you want to study another language. If, for example, you did French, Spanish, or German or something at A-level and you don't want to drop it, well, you can pick it up here. And you can, over your course, you can do one term of a language. You can also do one term of professional experience. That means basically if you want to get some experience doing a job, you do a job, and then together with your employer or your line manager and your tutor in the college, you'd keep a diary and develop your professional skills. And that can go onto your CV as well as counting towards your degree. In term 2, the core module is meaning in English, which is basically what it says. And then again, you'd choose 2 of these options. Clinical linguistics, if you're interested in things like speech therapy and so on. News, discourse and media, especially if you're interested in the media or publishing or those things, public relations and so on. Intercultural perspectives on communication, especially if you're interested in business of some kind. Then here's the Trinity teaching practice, which I mentioned. Managing cross cultures, if you're interested in business. And again, if you didn't do one of these in term 1, you can do them in term 2. And that's the end of level 5. And at this point, if you want to, you can do a placement year. You can spend your placement year either studying or working. If you want to spend it studying, then you can go abroad to study in one of the universities that participates. Stockholm in Sweden, Perth, Australia, New York State, Caen in northern France, and Taiwan. Now, if you want to go to Stockholm, Perth, Caen, Taiwan, you don't have to speak Swedish or Caen or French or Taiwanese. All of these are offering courses as an English medium course, so they're all taught in English. Okay. Or if you don't want to study abroad, you can spend a year doing a job related to your degree. And again, this was useful to go onto your CV and to gain professional experience. Now, obviously, these change year after year because all of these are private companies and, they decide whether or not they have a space for people. And so each year you'd look to see which ones are available, or you could find one. These are just 4 that previous students have done. To help with all of this, of course, we have a placement and internship centre, which is based in Park Building, which is where you do most of your lectures and seminars. That's in Park 106. And they also have an email address if you'd like to email them. And they can help find your study abroad placement or your work placement. And that would be your placement year if you wanted to do one. You'd then go on to level 6. At level 6, there is one core module. And that core module stretches across the whole year, both terms 1 and 2. And it's your dissertation. The dissertation is a 10,000 word piece of work. You do it according absolutely to your own interests. And your interest might be governed by, what you're really interested in or by what you want to go into. It can be related to a career of some kind, or it can simply be, what you are best at. So make sure you get a good mark in it. And you do that over the year. It can be on anything related to the course. And then, again, you choose 2 options. Here we go. You could do gender, language and sexuality, researching English vocabulary, English through time, that's how English has changed from the past and then looking into the future. Spoken discourse in the workplace, especially if you're interested in English for professional purposes, or an introduction for teaching. And then again, if you didn't do them at level 5, then these are options for level 6 on professional experience and professional development. Now, I missed out the first one. That's because if you didn't want to do a whole year abroad and take the placement year, you can do it for just one term. You can do it here in your first term at level 6. And you'll see it says 40 credits, which means it's worth 2 of your options. So instead of staying in Portsmouth and doing 2 of these, you would go to one of those universities and you would do the study there for your first term. And then you'd also be doing your dissertation, obviously, because that goes across the whole year. And then after Christmas, you'd come back and you'd do term 2. Okay, so these are the options at level 2. You're still doing your dissertation, but you then choose 2 of these. Creativity in the language classroom, obviously for people who are interested in teaching. Language and social media, again for people interested in media, publishing, public relations, and that kind of thing. English is in the world. This is how English is developing as a global language. Written discourse in the workplace, which is more about language for professional purposes. And again, if you didn't do them before, then you can once again do the professional experience. And that is all, everything that you'd study on the course. Okay. One of the questions that you might be asking is, what kind of assessments would you have to do? And if you're like me and you don't like exams, then you'll be looking for the dread word exams. But it's likely that you will do some of pretty much all of these. And exams is only one of the possible ones. I was talking to a level 3 student who has managed to get through with only one exam in his whole university career. But you do essays, you do keep portfolios, you give presentations, which is really important because obviously it's one of the fundamental skills you'll need for whatever you go on to do. You'll write reflections to develop your own learning ability. You'll write reports, which are useful for professional purposes. You'll do text analysis and self-evaluations, deciding how well you're doing. Okay. Let's just have a quick look, finally, at the academic year. What will it look like? Well, you already know each year is divided into 2 teaching terms, which we call teaching blocks. So teaching block 1, which is before Christmas, there's an induction week to help you get used to everything. And then there's 5 weeks of teaching. There's a consolidation week or reading week in the middle. And then there's 6 more weeks of teaching, and then it's Christmas. You'd come back after Christmas, and there's a 2-week assessment period. And this is pretty much mirrored after Christmas. So after Christmas, you come back, you do your 2 weeks of assessment, and then it's into teaching for 6 weeks. Then you've got a consolidation week or reading week, followed by 6 more weeks, broken up by the Easter break. And then there's the final assessment. Now, it's impossible to predict exactly what your study timetable will look like. But this is the study timetable of one of this year's students. I copied it from one of this year's students. And as you can see, they've got teaching on 4 days in the week. They've got no teaching on a Tuesday. You might well have teaching every day, or you might even have 2 days. It's very difficult. It's impossible to say. It depends so much on what other students have chosen and availability of teaching space and so on. What you will notice is that there's lots of white space. It's not free time, unfortunately. Sorry about that. No, it does fill up because for each of these teaching spaces, you will have had something to prepare for it. Either you'd have watched an online lecture ready for the seminar, and then you'd come in for the seminar, and then in each one you'd get some work to do to prepare for the next one. And so that way you should be able, basically, if you're nice and organized, you should be able to do a 9 till 5 or a 9 till 6, 5 days a week, and get all your work done. That's the idea anyway. Right, so that's it. Just before I go, finally, do remember that there is a £1,000 award, which is part of Portsmouth's unconditional offer scheme, which you can read all about it on the website. And if you firmly accept an offer to study full-time, and if you get your predicted grades, you will get the scholarship, and there's no need to apply. If you meet the criteria, then you will automatically be told that you get the Vice Chancellor's scholarship of £1,000. Now, it is possible that between the time I recorded this and the time you start, that some things have changed. So please do bear that in mind. But if you've got any questions at all, please do keep in touch. This is my email address, william.forsyth@port.ac.uk. It's a good idea to copy in Gillian. Now, Gillian is the subject area leader. And so if I can't reply, because if I'm on leave or something at the time, then Jill will reply. You can see that Gillian is spelt with one L. And that's it. All our email addresses are at port.ac.uk, and then it's the first name dot surname before it. Okay, please remember there is a taster lecture. I hope you go and watch it. But from me, Will Forsyth, goodbye.